You're listening to Worshipology with Kurtis Parks, a biblical, practical, and spiritual conversation about living and leading worship. Visit kurtisparks.com to learn more and check out Kurtis's books and latest resources for your worship team. Worshipology is a part of the Worship Leader Magazine podcast network. Worship Leader Magazine has a heart to equip spirit-led worship leaders with practical tools, theological insight, and encouragement for the local church. Today's episode is brought to you by PraiseCharts. Whatever resources you're looking for on the latest songs in today's worship music, PraiseCharts has you ready to go. Whether you need chord charts, lead sheets, or full orchestrations, everything is formatted for your team and available for instant download. Stay current, save time, and lead with confidence. Check out PraiseCharts.com today and get your hands on the freshest songs for Sunday. Now, lean into today's episode of Worshipology with Kurtis Parks.
Well, hey, you're listening to the Worshipology podcast. This is a biblical, practical, spiritual conversation all about living and leading worship. And I think it was about 3 months ago that I first connected with Amber Peairs on the Walk podcast, which is another podcast that I get to host for Worship Leader Mag. And man, just dropping nuggets left and right. And I was like, oh, we got to get Amber Peairs on the Worshipology podcast. So say what's up, Amber.
Hello, you are so kind. Thank you. I am honored to be here and excited to have conversation today.
Yes. So tell us where you're dialing in from today. Are you in the Dallas area today?
Yes, I am hailing from McKinney, Texas, which is North Dallas. So we are apparently this and Frisco are like the two fastest growing cities in the United States.
Wow.
So we've got a lot of headquarters moving here. Toyota, PGA, and Universal just opened a park. So it's a very busy, thriving community, but it also feels small. Like we have our own little downtown that's really amazing and has like troubadours on the corner and like,
oh, cool.
It's amazing. So we love it here. I've lived here my whole life, grew up here.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I think I told you this last time. My brother lives in McKinney.
Oh,
and so I've been down there a couple times, and it is growing. I mean, it's wild, and I'm a fan of Friday Night Lights. So anytime I'm in Texas, I'm kind of like, all right, what's the football vibe here? And it's always strong. Are you a Cowboys fan?
Absolutely, born and raised a Cowboys fan. I actually graduated from high school in Texas Stadium, the old Texas Stadium. Yeah.
Okay. Who gets to say that? Like, that's really cool.
And it no longer exists, which is kind of sad. They tore it down.
Yeah. Yeah. The new stadium's insane though.
Yes, it is. Been there many times.
They just hosted some World Cup games too, right?
Yes, they did.
Oh my gosh. Have you been watching the World Cup?
Bits and pieces. We've traveled a lot. So wherever we are with the TVs on, we'll watch it. My ancestors are from Norway.
Oh, so, I was rooting for them. I really was.
I like that Holland guy. They got robbed.
I think so too. I love that Holland guy. He's just a trip. Like on social media, he's like discovering the U.S. with all the like crazy food that we have here, and of course, being in Texas, like I think he was at like a barbecue spot, and it was like one of the funniest things I've seen on Instagram. It's amazing.
Yeah, and I think I did hear they brought their own food from Norway.
Oh, okay. So like what is the Norwegian food our listeners need to know about?
Oh, I could not tell you.
I'm putting you on the spot now.
I didn't get that into it. My grandfather, though, liked to make wassail, which is
I know wassail.
Yes, wassail, which a lot of people have at Christmas, but that's
Here
actually Norwegian.
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, okay. That's
Norwegian.
Cool.
So I don't speak any Norwegian, but that is where my grandfather's from. So anytime they're playing, I'm like, yes,
let's
or
go,
in the Olympics,
go
yeah.
Yeah. I was bummed to see them lose. Well, just for our listeners, I mean, so we know you're from Norwegian ancestry. You live in McKinney, Texas. Tell us a little bit of your story. Like, how did you get involved with ministry? Give us a snapshot of your story, and then what really led you to where you are today with the worship life and just pouring into worship leaders all over the place, Amber.
Awesome. Well, I actually started leading worship back in the 80s. Woo,
All right,
I'm
let's go.
dating myself here. Back in the 80s, which were the best.
I don't know what you're drinking in Texas, but you don't look like you're old enough to have led worship in the 80s.
Well, thank you. But it's true. And again, my favorite era, that was the era of when Michael W. Smith, Amy Grant.
Yeah.
It was,
So good.
Yeah. And I was a teenager in high school, and I was in our youth choir. We did fine arts competition. So I grew up in the Assemblies of God. And
we got a lot of AG listeners. They know what that is.
Yes. And so I did fine arts, and our worship team and our ensemble, we would always go to nationals. And so music was a huge part of my life. My mom was a professional opera singer and a vocal teacher. So I grew up listening to her give lessons and going to musicals. So that was my whole growing up, like hairbrush in hand.
Okay.
That whole thing, like I literally
love
did.
it.
I would act out entire musicals.
Yeah.
Of West Side Story and different in my room as like a 5-year-old. So
amazing.
Yeah, but I started leading worship. There was a need in our youth group for people to sing. And so back then, I obviously did not understand the spiritual weight of worship leading and what worship actually was, not like I know now. But I did know what it felt like to be in the presence of God.
Wow.
And I loved music, and I knew that God had given me a gift to use music to draw people closer to him. That's all I knew in high school. Yeah. But that was enough to say yes.
Wow.
And so I said yes. And there was this moment when I realized that like I could use this gift to help connect, to be a bridge, to help connect people to God, to draw people closer to him. And so I knew that's exactly what I was supposed to do. Wow. And then I went on this mission trip. It was a domestic mission trip in high school to Phoenix, Arizona, to work with Teen Challenge, which is a ministry that helps those who are struggling with addictions, and also the homeless in Phoenix. We did homeless ministry there, and that is where God called me into full-time ministry.
Amazing.
I did not have a picture of what it would look like. I just knew that this is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Yeah. And
so from there, graduated, got a music degree, and with an emphasis in church ministries. Okay. And honestly, ever since then, I've pretty much done every job there is to do in worship ministry.
That's amazing.
I have been.
Well, take us through some of those, because I was actually having an amazing conversation last night with a buddy of mine, and we were talking about what does the progression look like in ministry for a worship leader. And here's what I mean by that. Like there's a lot of young worship leaders that will join a church staff and start leading worship in their 20s. And what is that like? What is like the pathway look like in minute? Like, okay, I want to do this for 5, 10, 20 years. Am I still leading worship as the same exact role here? And as somebody, you just mentioned, you've done everything under the sun in worship ministry. What could that potential pathway look like in the growth and leadership track for a worship leader as you've experienced, Amber?
Yeah, what I think it does look different for every person based on the culture you're in, the house where you serve. Yep. Because most of the time when you start young, it would start in youth ministry. I mean, that's true. Yeah. Usually the best place to get your feet wet, to make mistakes, to have there's a little more grace. You're not kind of in the main service. And so there's a lot more freedom and grace for those mishaps and things as you're learning. So I think youth ministry is a great way. At Gateway, when I was at Gateway, we actually started all the way kids worship. Really? So if you were in high school, obviously we didn't have adults in there. But if you were like high school, young adult age, started in kids worship. And cool. the kids worship had the same DNA, the same purpose, the same mission statement. Like everything was the same as the adult services. So you were getting culture early on. And then from being in youth ministry, then if you have a young adults team, that's, but it's all, it's kind of age appropriate, I think, because I think it's important for like young people to see young people on the platform. It doesn't mean you can't have a variety of ages, but I think it's important for people to see people that they can
identify with. Yeah, exactly.
That are in the same season of life. And then in adult services, you have all ages. It's very, generational, multi-generational worship. So I started as youth worship leader. And that's because, we didn't really have a kids worship ministry. I think they were using tracks back then and videos, who knows. And then I actually became a choir director. In my early 20s, because I had gone to school, got a music degree, took conducting. And so I became a choir director as well. And I know not every church has choirs, but back in the 80s, everybody had a choir.
OG choirs, man.
Exactly.
Choirs were choirs back in the 80s.
Yeah. And we were worship choir.
Wow.
We were a worship choir. So, and then I also was a fine arts director. So I would help the youth group with their human videos and all the things we were doing for Fine Arts Festival.
Love it.
And then I was a worship pastor. And when I was around 30, I became a worship pastor and then a vocal coach. Wow. And then I toured with a worship band for a while. And we would go all over the world. That's kind of where I learned to lead worship in Spanish. And we did some albums.
I just saw that. That's so cool.
Yeah, so I did the kind of touring thing where we unloaded our own U-Haul and everything.
Yeah.
So
wow.
And then I did songwriting as well, produced and recorded about 5 English albums and 1 Spanish album. So
amazing.
Yeah, wow. And then became a worship mentor now with the Worship Life. So it's been a journey. So I've done a lot of different things and got to dabble in different things like songwriting and going to Nashville and writing with some amazing songwriters for my project. And from there, I got the writing bug. So then I was like, I want to do some blogs now. So I started working on a blog on my website and now I'm working on a book. So, I never, ever thought I would be doing that.
Yeah.
Because again, you have this kind of trajectory, okay, I'm going to always be on staff at a church doing worship. Right. And in 2023, when the Lord said, it's time to come off staff at Gateway and go full time, step out in faith and start the Worship Life. And I was like, this staff is all I've ever known, being comfortable on a church staff.
Wow. And
so being off staff's been different because now I'm a volunteer for the first time in my
Gateway?
life. No, at my new church 1132 in Dallas.
That's cool. So let's talk about that for a little bit. To go from being on staff to now volunteering, are you finding yourself kind of seeing it from a totally different perspective that you never saw before? Or is it kind of no, it's pretty much like what I thought it was being on staff? What's the biggest kind of what are the parallels? And then what is the biggest whoa, this is so different. I never realized this before.
It's the same in that obviously you come with the same heart, the same posture. I think a lot of times people kind of dismiss volunteers they're a volunteer or they're just volunteering. So there's not an expectation to do things with excellence or prepare because, they're just they're just volunteers. No, they're not just volunteers.
Wow.
I think it's made me seem you put the same effort in it because that's what God deserves.
Amazing.
And so as a volunteer, I'm preparing for hours, memorizing songs and doing the exact same prep that I would do if I was the worship leader. Wow. The same spiritual prep, everything, getting the songs in my heart, connecting with them. And so it really helped me see the other side to encourage volunteers to not feel lesser than, to not feel like you're in the background. No, you have a role to step on the platform and lead as a priest. Just because you're not getting paid does not, the purpose, the why is the same.
Wow.
But what I have seen is now I have an understanding on the other side of, volunteer means also they have other full-time jobs.
Yeah.
They have commitments and that you need to be as a volunteer very diligent and intentional with boundaries.
Wow. So what's a healthy way to do that? Let's talk about that.
Well, I think because the old me would have said yes to everything.
Yeah.
Everything. Especially if I was a volunteer back in the days when I was overcommitting out of insecurity, out of, kind of an orphan spirit.
Yeah.
I would say, yes, pick me. I want to do it. Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah.
Whether it was paid or not, because again, it was coming from the wrong place, the wrong motive. And I was wanting to feel valued.
Wow.
And I think as a volunteer, especially in these churches where maybe their team is very big and there's a rotation and you hardly get the chance to be scheduled.
Wow.
That anytime someone says, hey, can you sing? Can you play? Hey, can you? Yeah. Except on planning center, except, without even thinking twice to stop and say, God, is this something you're asking me to add to my schedule? Is this part of my assignment? Or, it doesn't mean it's not a good thing. It's a good thing to lead worship, to help people connect with God, but is this what you should be doing? And so many people as volunteers can get pulled into that and overcommit. And then they get burned out. They're tired. Sure. They're kind of, their passion wanes because now it's like they feel used or they feel, taken advantage of and all that. So I think it's good for you as a mature Christian to set boundaries and say, talk with your family, talk with your spouse. Like what works for us and what is doable so that I'm able to help serve and do what I love to do, but also my family is my first ministry.
Yeah.
So it's been hard for me because I've had to say once a month, I'm only available once a month. I mean, also I travel and lead and guest lead at churches, but even if I didn't do that, I would have to have a boundary of once a month.
That's so good.
Of course, if they need me and it's an emergency, I pray about it. And if the Lord says, do it, then I'll do it. But to be you got to be very intentional with that.
That's really good because I think, the whole concept of burning out really does come back to you. Like, okay, well, what are you saying yes to? Like, nobody's going to click the confirm button for you. Like, it's ultimately on us to manage our schedules. If we don't manage our schedules, they'll manage us. And you know more than anybody, like there's a lot of things out there that you can say yes to. Not everything deserves a yes. And every yes is a no to something else. So just make sure you're saying yes to the right things, no to the wrong things. And I do want to go back, though, because, on that question about what does the pathway look like for a worship leader today? One of the things that I got from what you were saying as you kind of shared your journey and where you are now, it seems like if you're somebody that has vision, the pathway will create itself. It's like if you're somebody that doesn't have big vision, and you don't see a lot of potential and you see yourself kind of stuck in a box, you may be in a box in 20 years. But if you have that vision, talk a little bit about that, because it does take great faith to step out in boldness into some of these unknowns. But it also takes a lot of vision to be like, okay, I can go from, these different worship leading contexts to now, mentoring, to traveling, to writing and stepping out there. Is that for everybody, or is it okay to just, kind of be like, no, I just want to lead worship in the context of my local church and be committed to that. And if I'm doing that in 20, 25 years, because you said it was like different strokes for different folks, right? So talk to us a little bit about that for somebody who's listening and maybe they're just getting into on the earlier side of leading worship and they do have big vision. How do you walk that road with honor? Without stepping on people's toes and let's be honest, and making sure that your lead pastors know that, hey, I'm for this place. I'm for the house, but God has given me vision that I don't know exactly what it looks like, but it may not always be in this context here locally.
Yes. I think it's important to have those conversations and not assume.
That's good.
Not to assume that, well, they know what I'm called to do. They know what I want to do.
Wow.
Having a conversation, because if you assume, again, your emotions will fill in those blanks.
Wow.
And if you don't get asked to do things and you're like, oh, I really have a heart for that. I really have a passion for that. Then you start getting offended and resentment inside. It's like, no, have a conversation.
Wow.
Actually, I really love outreach or working with youth, or I really have a heart for this, whatever it might be. Like at my old church, I let them know I actually really have a heart to minister to families who are grieving. So
Wow.
if there are memorial services that you need worship for, I would love to do that, because everybody else was hitting decline. They're
Wow.
like, oh, we don't want to do that. We don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But I felt like the Lord specifically gave me a grace to do hard moments in worship and specifically funerals and memorial services. So I had the conversation so that they would know this is my heart. And I think too many people that start in ministry, they have their plan. But again, they haven't invited the Holy Spirit into that plan.
Oh gosh. That's good.
And it's just, this is what I've laid out. Again, I thought I was going to be on staff and be a worship leader the rest of my life. Now, I do want to be very clear, because too many people, again, already in their minds, they think, okay, when I get to this certain age, I'm going to age out.
Yep.
I'm not going to be relevant anymore.
One of those conversations. Interesting. Yeah.
Yes. You see it everywhere.
Wow.
But that does not have to be the case.
Come on.
But you don't manufacture, manipulate, push, and force your way into something just because you're like, this is what I want to do, and this is how it's going to be. I always say, you hold it with an open hand. You hold the assignment, every assignment, with an open hand. So if you're just starting out and you're in your 20s, or you're even a teenager and you're starting out in youth ministry, kids worship, young adults, whatever it is, hold that assignment lightly, because there will be a time when that assignment and that burden is lifted. And you need to listen to that and not be like, no, this is what I thought I would always do, because God has more in you.
So good.
God has more in you, and he may be calling out some aspects and some gifts that you haven't even tapped into. As you get older and you get more mature and more experienced, people need that. So I think maybe not everyone's called to be a mentor, but does everyone, as they get more mature and they grow and they're more seasoned, do they have something to offer the younger generation? Absolutely.
Wow.
But it may be in different assignments. Maybe you're a 55-year-old worship pastor on staff. Or maybe you're like me and you're not on staff and you're 54 and you're mentoring and you have a ministry. Or maybe that looks like you're volunteering as a worship vocalist at your church. Whatever that is, but to be open, hold it lightly with an open hand, and know that God's going to show you those assignments. He's going to make way for your gift. But I see too many people, because it didn't look like what they thought it was going to look like. And they hold on to it so tightly that if it doesn't happen, then they just quit. They're just like, well, I'm done. And instead of, there's all these things that you can do in worship to help the next generation and to pour into people. And it doesn't have to be just worship leader or just worship pastor. So I stay curious.
That's good.
Stay curious and realize that there's more in you than just this. Don't put yourself in a box.
Wow. And I think it takes a lot of trust, doesn't it? Because it's like, if you don't trust that God has more for you, you're going to be really stingy with what he gives you. But the fact that you just said, let's be open-handed with it, because it's for him anyway. It's like, I think that's the key, right? It's like, if you truly trust that God is always leading you we say it all the time, the best is yet to come. Like we are a hope-filled people. We are a people that is our faith and our trust are built on what's yet to come. And I think, when you have this mentality that like, maybe this is all it is, it starts to really turn inward really quick. And that's not what worship ministry is about. Like, talk to us a little bit about like what you have seen with a lot of the worship leaders and teams that you're mentoring. What are some of those kind of like common themes kind of threaded throughout? I know you talk a lot about culture, and I definitely want to get into that, but like, what are some of those things that like, I don't know, like I would almost ask it this way. Like, what are we missing big picture that you're seeing as you travel and as you get to kind of be in different pockets with different worship teams? Like, are there common threads of like, hey, let's watch out for this. And then on the flip side of that, what are you seeing that's like, man, I think we need to lean more into that?
Well, of course, there's the big debate on excellence.
Always.
Are we too focused on excellence? And yes, I think there's always a ditch on either side.
Wow.
And I see a lot of teams that are, they want to be Instagram worship worthy. Like, they feel the pressure of everything else they see on social media. And so there's that fine line. Like, it's got to come from a motivation and a heart to say, God deserves our very best.
Yeah.
But excellence is doing the best with what you have.
I love that.
Not trying to force something, to make people something they're not, to be something you're not, to be a church that God's not called you to be. And so I think it's really important for us to invite the Lord in to our specific worship ministry and say, Lord, this is what I have. And this is what you've given me. And I want to be a good steward of that. And what does excellence look like in that way? Because I teach a lot about this, because a lot of teams will ask, like, can you talk about that? Because our team, we just struggle. We know they need to be more excellent. But again, when it gets to be an idol, when it becomes an idol, and the focus is so much on excellence, then it becomes pressure and perfection and performance, all the P's, and nobody wants to be a part of that.
Nope.
Especially when you have people that you're discipling and they're growing and they're already struggling with identity, which I'll get to in a second. They're already struggling with their identity and feeling valuable and worthy. And then you're throwing this pressure on them to be perfect, to be worthy of YouTube or whatever it is.
Right.
There's a learning curve, and people need to have grace to learn and mess up, but they also need to be challenged to skill up and to grow in their craft. So I find they really struggle with that balance and the tension of when is it too much excellence or too much focus on excellence, or are we just like, wing it, fly. God doesn't care. Just be you, going to the other extreme.
Yeah.
So that's something I'm seeing in a lot of teams. And then I would say at the center of everything that I do is the idea of identity first leadership.
Wow. That's good.
Because again, I feel that everything that I see happening in worship ministry that's a major challenge or issue, it stems from misplaced identity in your team members or in the leader.
Wow.
And I know this because
that's good.
I went through this for years. So I'm not trying to help people become better performers on a platform.
Wow.
I'm trying to help them steward what God's already put in them and who he's called them to be. Because when you lead from identity, that's what's going to show up on the platform. That's what shows up publicly.
Yeah.
And it shows up in how worship leaders and pastors lead their teams. And so many of the worship leaders I'm talking to, they're leading for approval.
Wow. Yeah.
Instead of leading from identity.
Wow.
And I would say that's just one of the biggest things. A lot of people are like, we need skill. We need to learn skill. We need to learn skill. And they're so focused on that, that the inner part gets neglected.
Wow.
And this is their mentality. Well, if the set goes well, if people respond, if someone tells you that worship was fire, it was awesome.
Right.
If your pastor seems pleased, then that's going to settle something in me. But it never does. And it can't. And the platform is not supposed to tell you who you are.
Come on.
And I think that is what I see in a lot of worship, not just young.
Yeah.
A lot of times young. No, again,
sometimes I even see it more in an older generation, just from doing this for a long time. And that's so interesting because I think as young, sometimes people can feel threatened. Oh, the young people are taking my spot. And so there comes like this struggle for like, I need to be up there for approval. Like, I mean, you said it so well, like leading for approval instead of from identity. Let me ask you this, as a worship pastor to a worship pastor, like what is it like? How can we best help our teams with the identity piece of it, with helping them not realize like excellence is like a taskmaster, everything has to be perfection. How can we best approach from a pastoral side, Amber?
Yeah, I think, again, it's coming to them and pouring into them an identity of a son and a daughter and speaking that over them.
Wow.
And of course, this can get very deep, and this is has lots of layers, but they don't see themselves as a son or a daughter. That's the issue of misplaced identity is you're always striving for recognition, approval. I mean, I can see it a mile away because I was there. I've been there. And you hear a lot of worship leaders say one thing out of their mouths. And I did this too. Like, I knew the right things to say. I knew the right scriptures to quote, but their lives and their behavior speak something differently. And that's why I want to help close that gap. And it starts with them understanding their role as a worshiper, that they are a worshiper, a son and a daughter first before they're a bass player, a drummer, an artist, whatever, because we get so tied on these labels. I'm a recording artist. I'm a worship leader. I'm a this, I'm a that, I'm a piano player, whatever.
Yep.
Or I'm at this church, or I do this, or all these labels, all these positions, all these titles, instead of going to the title of son or daughter, because I think sometimes they think, well, that's not that doesn't sound as great and as glamorous. But I'm telling you what, if you don't start there, everything else will crumble.
Wow.
It will crumble. And I want to see leaders learn to lead themselves well first. You have to be able to lead yourself well. And so that means you have self-awareness.
Yeah.
You lead with intention. You have spiritual maturity and a settled identity, because everything's going to flow from that. So, we can teach skill. We can teach how to put a song list together and how to do transitions, and all that matters. That's all important to helping steward moments, holy moments where people can encounter God's presence. But if you yourself first are not a healthy leader and you don't know who you are, when all that's gone or all that messes up and goes off the rails, you're going to be disappointed. You're going to be disillusioned. You're going to be frustrated.
Wow.
And I sat there for years. And so that is my heart to teach. That's one of the main things that I teach is who you are in Christ and what your role is as a worship team member before playing, and memorizing and learning your songs and all that. Before that, what is your role, your priestly role when you step on the platform?
Wow. I love that. And I don't think it's just for worship leaders and worship teams. I remember, Amber, during my church planting season, and it's so wild. I'm in Nashville this week hanging out with some friends. And last night I was catching up with a guy who was our associate pastor during that. Older guy, 20 years older than I am. And it was so interesting because I was so frustrated, Amber, in church planting because we just weren't growing. It was a season where it just felt stale and stagnant. And I thought it was me. And isn't that what insecurity does? It's like, I'm not good enough. I'm not doing the right things, the right outreaches, the right messages, the right teams, all this stuff, the systems. And I was just so frustrated. And this guy's name's David. And he said, Kurtis, you need to quit praying as a church planter and start praying as a son. And it wrecked me, Amber. It wrecked me because I was like, oh my goodness, that's not who God sees when I come to him. He sees his son. And I've been coming with the titles, with false placed identities, with like my roles, with this is all the stuff I'm doing for you, God. And he's like, I just want you, Yeah. And I think that's so key. It's so good because you're dead on. Like there's everything really stems from a lack of knowing who you are and whose you are when it's this problem of like, I'll just share a story from like 10 years ago. I was working with a great musician, phenomenal, but he just kept messing up every single set, every single Sunday. He wasn't bringing his best. It was like he was lacking preparedness. And I was just like, hey, what's going on? What's going on in your life, man? And he just unloaded all of this stuff. And as soon as I showed that intentionality, next Sunday, it was like, oh, we got John Mayer back. It's like, it was wild. Like, what is it about that, Amber, where it's like that piece of identity, that piece of care and pastoral just shepherding really shifts all of the other stuff that you wouldn't think it would?
Yeah, it's a lot of times I feel that, and this was me included, we see people as positions instead of as people.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And right. we value them more for what they can do and what they can provide or what they're not doing right. We're like, instead of seeing them as people and then stopping and asking the Lord to show you them through his eyes. And look, you asked the simple question, what's going on? And a lot of times that will get down to the root. And I tell worship leaders this a lot when they're struggling with somebody on the team. Maybe they have a difficult team member, someone that's causing issues. Yeah. Instead of avoiding, I don't like conflict. Like, I guarantee you there's something deeper at the heart of that there's some unhealed wounds in them.
Wow.
And there is a person underneath all that, like combativeness or showing up unprepared or whatever. There is a person, a son or a daughter or a priest underneath all that is ready to give their very best to God. But they just need someone to stop long enough to not see them as a position or a keys player or a drummer or their star vocalist and say, hey, I want to connect with you. What's going on? And whether that they're showing up late. Hey, I noticed that you haven't been able to make it on time. Instead of like correcting them right off the bat. Yeah. Hey, is there something going on? Can I help you?
Wow.
What's going on? I would love to know how I can support you and help you and come from that pastoral heart of understanding instead of immediately correcting, because we have no idea what's going on underneath that.
Wow. That's so good. And what's so crazy is that and you said it, like so many of us don't like conflict. I don't think anybody enjoys conflict. If you're truly pastoral in nature, I don't think anybody enjoys, like, I just love it when everybody's angry and the team's fighting. But it happens all the time. And there's always hidden, things, there's layers, like you said, that are going on. And what's wild, Amber, and I know you've seen this, where it's like, when you step into that uncomfortableness to try to get down to the human level of where people are at, they rise their potential. They rise to the occasion. And it's like, I think when people feel seen, not as a position, but as a person, when they've been spoken identity of a son and a daughter, and those are the rock stars. Those are the ones that, like, man, I knew you had it in you. Like, it's just so wild how that works. And like, okay, so we've talked about some of the common, like, themes that what about on the flip side of that? Like, what are you seeing where it's like, man, this is awesome. Like, this generation gets this, and you want to see us leaning more into that, whether it's, understanding a concept of worship or being able to bring one of the many things that is necessary in those environments.
Well, as far as leaders go, I will say that I have seen a lot more interest in, like, moving beyond just skill. But I'm encouraged to see a lot more leaders are actually shepherding their teams.
That's good.
They're not just managing teams.
Wow.
They're actually prioritizing people's hearts more than they are what they're producing.
So good.
So I've honestly seen this firsthand, like with the calls that I've had with worship pastors who are wanting me to come do like a workshop. It used to be almost entirely, they wanted practical, they wanted technical.
Interesting.
Help my vocalists with their range, help me tighten up the transitions, that kind of thing. And again, those things are important. But more and more, I'm seeing more pastors and worship leaders that are reaching out and they're saying, I want to talk about something different.
Wow.
I want our team to know their biblical role.
Wow.
What does it actually mean to be on a worship team? Not just musically, but like, what's the spiritual weight of standing on the platform? How do you prepare your heart before you get to rehearsal? I see that even the young generation of worship leaders coming up, they're already realizing
You're right. Yeah.
that they can have a talented team, but if that team does not know their why or their what, it does not matter how great their how is,
Wow.
And I wish I would have gotten this a long time ago, because for me, I was so focused on, we got to get these, transitions, and we've got to, get everything tight, and the best songs and all that. And again, that is an aspect of leading, but you cannot neglect the heart posture.
Wow.
And the why. And I love that shift, because it means that leaders are starting to see their teams more than just a band, just a group of musicians, but they're actually discipling them.
Wow.
And they're teaching them that being on a worship team is a position of stewardship.
Yeah.
It carries weight, and it requires preparation on the inside as much as it does on the outside, and that they're going to have a stronger team. They always want to grow their teams. Like, how do we grow our teams? Starting with the heart first. And I always say I would rather have a team that has the right heart. They know their purpose. They know their why. They are spiritually ready, and maybe lacking a little more in the musical side. I'd rather have a team like that, because then when they've got their why, then they're going to be more apt to go, all right, help me grow in the how.
Wow. You're right.
I love the passion and the fire that I see in this young generation, as far as there's no hesitation. There's no, what are my friends going to think? And like, they are just completely abandoned in their worship. And I love it. Especially our church, our young people at our church, Church 1132 in Allen, Texas. Shout out.
Let's go.
We have an amazing youth and young adults ministry, and they are on fire. And they're showing up the adults. Like, we got to step up, because they are so passionate about the Lord, and it's a genuine passion.
Wow.
And I love that. I did not see that in high school growing up. And so I will say, again, a ditch on either side, how worship has become in the part of the modern culture. It's on the radio. We have worship artists, that can lean to one side to the extreme, but also I do love that it is in modern culture, because it's more visible.
Yep.
And I think it helps young people see, like, wow, I can be on fire and radical and worship the Lord the way He's created me to worship authentically, and not be embarrassed about it, not worry about what people are going to think. And I think it's beautiful. And so it's really encouraging to see that.
That's so cool. Yeah, I totally affirm that. We have an incredible youth at our church at Destination in the Richmond area. And we had a testimony night. They just got back from camp. And we had this testimony night, and oh my goodness, Amber, the stories, I was teared up the entire time. I mean, some of the stuff that they're coming from is just like, oh my gosh, it's just gutting. But then they find Jesus, and almost every single kid said it was in worship that I first experienced God. It was in this song. It was this lyric. It was this moment where I was just abandoned and surrendered. I finally feel the presence. I was filled with the Holy Spirit. And it was just like, man, there's such an atmosphere, a presence when you connect God's people to His presence, lives change, and it is real. And it's like, it's just such a beautiful thing that we get to be a part of that. And
here's two things real quick on that. First of all, you will never forget those moments. Like, as a young person, I can remember camp. When I was at church camp as a teenager, and I can remember in worship.
Yeah.
Al Denson was leading worship. If those of you who know Al Denson, who heads up the Experience Conference.
Amazing.
he was leading worship at this camp. And I just remember it was a shift for me. Something just shifted in me. And I never forgot that. And that was like 40 something years ago. So I encourage those young people who have those experiences and those of us who remember having that, like go back to those, revisit those.
So good.
It rekindles that. It rekindles that fire again to remember, oh yeah, like God's presence was real and tangible. And sometimes we can get so into the doing the work that people who are in ministry right now, a lot of people they're doing the work, but they don't even feel his presence anymore.
Gosh. Yeah.
They haven't stopped long enough. They're too busy doing the thing that they're not abiding in him. They're not abiding in his presence. And to go back and revisit those moments where you felt his presence, he's the same God then.
Yeah.
He's the same God now than he was then. And then secondly, that right there should remind people the spiritual weight to what we do 100%. As worship teams. You're listening to these young people tell you the testimonies and what God did in worship, or a lyric.
Yeah.
One lyric. That's why our songs matter. What words we're putting into the mouth of the bride of Christ matters. And so that right there is like, that's powerful, that we can have an impact like that on the people that we are helping encounter God's presence. Yeah.
Wow. That's so good. You got me fired up, Amber. Like I want to lead worship right now.
Yes.
This has been such a healthy and helpful conversation. I don't know where our time has gone, but I have to ask this question before we sign off here. It's how we end every podcast here on Worshipology. Like, what is the Holy Spirit speaking to you right now? What have you just kind of been resonating on in your prayer life? Maybe God's got something on repeat, a scripture, or just a thought that the Holy Spirit's been really laying on you.
So this is a deep one, so we won't go deep into it, but it's just something to think about. This has really, really been on my heart lately, to the point that just every time I think about it, like I just start weeping. I've really felt impressed on my heart that as a whole in the church, I'm talking worship team included, but as a church, we've started to treat worship really casually. So even though, yes, I, you look on Instagram and you see all these worship nights and events, and people look, on fire, and they're raising their hands and they're hyped up. But as a whole, when I go into worship spaces, I see worship treated very casually. Wow. And this is from the team, from the pastor, from the congregation. And it's very sneaky. Like sometimes I feel like I even can treat worship casually and not even recognize it sometimes. Wow. And the Lord, the Holy Spirit just kind of prompted me in this, instead of treating it like an actual sacred exchange happening between the room and God, that we're treating it casually. And when we treat things casually, they start to feel casual.
Whoa.
Wow. And I feel we've gotten kind of lackadaisical in how we approach corporate worship. And it's just been grieving me. Like, and if it grieves me, I'm like, Lord, this grieves your spirit, because worship has become kind of background music. And it's something we walk into and we're sipping our coffee to, and we're catching up on conversations with people while worship's going on, like, or we're grabbing an Instagram reel. And I was one of the very first people that would pull their phone out to record a worship moment. And I want to be really careful here, because I'm not knocking anyone for doing that, because again, I've done it, and I think we want to capture moments and we want to hold on to that. And honestly, there's value in that. Yeah. And there's value in having those clips to encourage people and to reach people. So I'm not trying to be legalistic about that. But what the Lord has been showing me lately
you're on it.
When you feel the urge to pull out your phone to record, like he's been prompting me to just be in the moment, to be present, and to not leave the moment in order to capture the moment.
Whoa, say that again.
The Lord has shown me to not leave the moment in order to capture the moment.
Wow.
And I haven't always been able to do that. But lately, I've been like, oh, this is such a moment. I want to capture it. And the Lord's like, no. No.
Wow.
Like, and this is just something personally for me, but it ties into what I feel the Lord's saying and cautioning us is to not treat his presence and his glory casually, because on any given Sunday, so many people are disengaged.
Yeah.
They're in their own world and they're not recognizing what's actually happening in the room, that the King of Kings is in the room.
Come on. Yeah.
And I'm talking to worship teams as well. We're just kind of going through our list. But really the only appropriate response is to give him glory and to be fully present and to be aware of who we're actually in the presence of.
Man.
And so I just feel that he's the sense of the Lord asking us to not get so comfortable and so casual with his presence that we lose awe of it.
Wow.
The awe and wonder. Like, I love to go back to those songs, I stand in awe of you.
Yes.
Because I feel like we've lost that.
Wow.
And so my heart would be just that we don't ever treat it so common that it's background music, or that we're worshiping worship, that we're so in love with the music and the feel of all that. But that our heart would be that it's not so familiar that we've kind of dismissed it.
Yeah.
And that we're going through the motions. And I believe he's inviting us to be fully present again.
Wow.
So I know that's really deep, but that is literally what's
so
been
good.
on my heart.
That's worth the price of admission right there. Like the don't leave the moment to capture the moment. Like I'll be chewing on that, because I think that's so huge for where we're at today. And it's just interesting, like the whole, treating worship casually and commonplace. Like, it's interesting. I did a message last summer at our church, and in it I was talking about the holiness of God, and I studied the whole, with Uzzah and the ark, which always kind of bothered me. Like, he's just, he's trying to keep the ark from falling and the oxen stumble and all that stuff, and why he was killed in that moment. But it was because of what you just said.
Yes.
God's presence, which was represented, of course, by the ark, was just so they were familiar. They were like, oh, it's just here. Let's move it let's transport it how we want, not how, Moses told us how to do it with the
easy
poles.
way.
Yeah. Let's do it the easy way. And it's right here. And Uzzah just put his hand out because he's like not thinking anything of it. And boom, in that moment, it was like, this isn't common. This is not your standard ark. This is not just a casual oxen transportation. This is the presence of God.
Right.
And I think that's just a really good challenge for all of us that are listening. Like, don't let it become routine. Like, don't just pop in the easy songs, and don't just put set lists up because it's got good flow and it's got great key changes and all. Pray through it. Like, man, like you said, these are the words that we're putting in the bride of Christ's mouth, like to sing and to worship. The King is in the room. Wow, that's really good. For those who are listening and they're like, man, I want to hear more. I want to connect with Amber. We're going to put some links in our show notes to the Worship Life and her Instagram page. And highly just recommend anytime you can get in the room with Amber, you're going to come out better. And that's what we've had today. So thank you, Amber, for joining us on Worshipology and just sharing your heart. I really appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. And again, I would love to connect with anyone out there who wants some mentoring or just wants to talk through some challenges in ministry. I love that we have these conversations. So thank you so much for facilitating this today. It was so great.
Yeah. And I say every pastor needs a pastor. So if you're a worship pastor and you don't have anybody that's helping you navigate some of the complicated things that we've even hit on this podcast, man, reach out to Amber. There's nothing like having somebody who's a little further down the road who's seen some of those things that can help guide you on that path. So Amber, thank you once again. You're amazing.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You've been listening to Worshipology with Kurtis Parks. Visit kurtisparks.com to learn more and check out Kurtis's books and resources for worship leaders and teams. Worshipology is part of the Worship Leader Magazine podcast network, brought to you by Worship Leader Magazine. Today's episode was sponsored by PraiseCharts. Visit praisecharts.com and get everything you need for your worship team today.